Howdy ho, folks. I cannot believe I didn't catch this video sooner. I think it came out after the Pulse nightclub shooting. But this is a perfect illustration right here of the manipulative, lying behavior of the gun controllers in this video here. And more in general, the left. And I understand that there are some reasonable leftists and there are some people who lean left that are honest and aren't manipulative like this. And I understand that there are some pro-freedom to own firearms leftists who are gun owners themselves. But guess what? Generally, when this pro-gun control stuff comes up, it does come from the left. So let's get into this.
On June 12, 2016, I woke up like any other Sunday morning and, like any other millennial, instinctively checked my phone. I immediately saw two words splashed across news outlets and social media: Orlando and shooting. My first thought was, oh, it must be about the shooting that happened last week. So I shrugged, wrapped a rainbow handkerchief around my neck, and traversed the few blocks that separated my apartment from the start of the Los Angeles Pride Parade.
So obviously with this little story here, he's already trying to set the mood.
Had just hours before been gunned down at Pulse nightclub in what would be called the worst mass shooting in modern US history. I realized throughout the following week, as my friends posted eulogies for victims who they knew in the massacre, that the degrees of separation between these events and me don't exist anymore. In fact, I wondered if they ever existed at all. And it dawned on me that the longest, most influential relationship I never knew I had in my life is with mass shootings.
And here it looks like he's kind of reaching for victim status on this, making it seem like he has this personal relationship with mass shootings. Okay, gotcha. Some of these mass shootings he'll go on to talk about occurred very close to where maybe his mother was, maybe he was. He might have known some people who knew some people that were involved in these mass shootings, that were victims of these mass shootings. Yes, but he will take other events such as Columbine, the Luby's massacre, and stuff like that. But even though he wasn't there, and even though he didn't personally know anybody in those mass shootings, he's still gonna try. He's still claiming that he has that personal relationship with mass shootings.
Tragedies have been brutally effective in shaping my worldview. So I don't want to speak on this topic as some self-purported expert like you'll see flooding your feeds, but...
No, you just want people to go out and take action, even though, you're not going to specifically in this video say what exactly those actions are. But we'll get to that.
When I was 5 years old, a man crashed his pickup truck into a chain restaurant called Luby's about an hour and a half from where I lived and shot and killed over 20 people. My father, to calm my fears, recounted an infamous...
You were not there. However, somebody that was there said that she wished she had her pistol on her that day. The reason why she didn't was because she was following Texas law, which Luby's happened before we got right to carry. So Luby's was effectively what you call a gun-free zone. But she said that she had her pistol on her, she had the shot on the guy, and her parents would still be alive.
As the adults argued politics, we kids actually went through a massive tonal shift when it came to our perspective on our peers and our culture and security, and that's when I grew paranoid. Because our parents had wars and we had Columbine.
Yeah, because, wars are so much more peaceful and so much better than mass shootings, right?
I remember schools installing metal detectors at their entrances, and I remember that it became a common, sick, practical joke for some idiot to call a bomb threat just to watch everyone get evacuated. I remember rock music and video games and even the internet being blamed, and if you wore a trench coat, you were a killer.
You know who else gets blamed? Firearms, the freedom to own firearms, firearm owners. But you conveniently leave that out. I guess us firearm owners ain't people now anymore, huh? But then again, you're going to go and show in this video, well, at least in the link to one of those sites to link us to, that, you're okay with blaming firearms and firearm owners, even though you don't explicitly say this in this video.
Very quick and eager to turn on one another. Everyone debated about who or what was at fault.
That would include you. I know you don't explicitly say it in the video, but the sites, again, you're linking us to, do call for more gun control. And I know that in this video you explicitly will go on to say, call your representatives, call your congressmen, Tell them to do something. You don't exactly say what, but the implications are there.
And if history has taught us anything, there was no easy answer. Kids were dead, and nothing was done.
Wait, what was that part about the metal detectors in school again?
I remember schools installing metal detectors at their entrances, and I remember that it...
Wasn't that something that was done? I mean, I know it's not exactly what you like or what you really want to have done, which, again, the implications are there in the sites you link us to, and this will be a common occurrence in your video.
And then 9/11 happened, and our generation went from cautiously skeptical to absolutely terrified.
Yes, an attack where firearms were not used. And in fact, airports are past the security area are known for being gun-free zones. Planes are also known for being gun-free zones. They have metal detectors in airports, and now they have body scanners in airports because of that. These attacks were carried out by radical jihadists, which you certainly seem to want to leave them out of it, as you'll show in the comments you highlight later on in your video.
Columbine ignited our fear as young citizens, then 9/11 defined it to be rampant, righteous, and unending. And why not? We were scared. We wanted answers, but instead of reaching for a common goal, we split ourselves in two. And every conversation you have, every fight online you'll see in the comments below, and every election year we witness this endless back and forth as more people die and less resolutions are reached. Years later.
Okay, so I'm going to translate this into what you really mean. Don't oppose us, don't oppose our leftist agenda. Don't bring up the possibility that just maybe there are violent ideologies out there in the world that need to be addressed without violating people's fundamental human rights. No, just do what we tell you to.
And as we mourn the dead, it struck me that every time that this happens, it not only opens up an opportunity to advance personal and political agendas, it becomes top priority for most of us to do so.
Yeah, that's funny considering your next statement is...
And yet again, kids were dead, nothing was done.
And yet nothing was done. Funny because the gun controllers use that very same talking point after every single mass shooting in the U.S. And by the way, there were changes in our gun laws signed into law by President Bush after Virginia Tech, you lying sack of shit.
Omaha, Binghamton, Fort Hood twice. Fort Hood in the same town as that Luby's cafeteria that was shot up in my childhood. School.
That's funny because the common factor in all these shootings, and I know you're going to detail more, but the common factor is they all tend to occur in what we call gun-free zones. Meaning, if you're a concealed carry holder, you cannot carry your firearm in those areas. In fact, that seems to be the common factor in all of our mass shootings. In fact, there's only a certain number of mass shootings we've had in the U.S., you can count on one hand, that occurred outside of a gun-free zone.
No one was safe. And then later that year, over 20 people, the majority being children who were in the first grade, were shot and killed at Sandy Hook. Our little brothers and sisters, our own children, gunned down. My gut reaction was, well, now things will definitely have to change.
Adam Lanza murdered his mother in her sleep, then stole her guns and shot up Sandy Hook. He murdered her in her sleep. What gun law would stop that?
But it did not. Little kids were dead and nothing was done.
Gee, for somebody who's chiding politicians for using mass shootings to push a political agenda, you sure do sound an awful lot like them. And by the way, yes, I do not like politicians who use these strategies to push a political agenda, whether it's gun control. I didn't like it when they blamed Columbine on Marilyn Manson or video games or anything like that. Yeah, people who did that were wrong too.
Monica, Santa Barbara, Marysville, Umpqua, Charleston. I apologize if I'm forgetting some, but there's just too many to count. So many that I, becoming so used to turning from passionate rage to desensitized resignation on a dime, I only shrugged. I screamed, and then I shrugged, and then I forgot.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw this out here. Just a possibility here, dude. Just all it is, possibility, throwing it out here, okay? Maybe you don't have that deep emotional connection to these mass shootings like you originally claimed, and maybe the more logical solution on this one is that, yes, these are very disturbing. They are very upsetting to hear. And eventually, I mean, after all the dust settles, we eventually move on with our lives. We get over it emotionally and we move on and again continue about our lives because those events did not affect us personally. Then it's perfectly okay. That's perfectly natural human behavior.
Paris, my second home, where my mother has lived for over 17 years, was hit by a series of unfathomable terrorist attacks.
Gee, and in France, they have some pretty strict gun control laws. You know, just maybe throwing this out there, just maybe people who want to do a bunch of harm to other people find ways to do it despite the gun laws. Kind of like that truck attack in Nice, which killed 86 people. Bad people find a way to do bad things. That's a reality. That's called reality, dude.
And in the following week, we'd hold a security meeting on what to do in an active shooter situation.
What was this about nothing being done? It looks like something was being done. I mean, active shooter classes. Is that not something that's being done to mitigate the damages? And yeah, I've been through them too. Yeah, they suck dick. Big time. I prefer my pistol as opposed to all that. But guess what? In the places where these mass killings happen, people who have concealed carry permits cannot carry their pistols into those areas for the most part. They are gun-free zones.
What was once video games and trench coats has morphed into the red flag du jour for politicians who have ensured, especially with our upcoming election, that we are a country solely operating on our fear. We have let the politicians and talking heads and online forums dictate a conversation that our generation needs to have.
Okay, video games have been a common target after some mass shootings, and the people that do that push that agenda are wrong too. But you keep on leaving out the most common agenda that gets pushed after these mass shootings, and that's gun control. Why is that? Well, we know why this is because you don't have a problem with that agenda getting pushed, and that's kind of the whole point behind this video, even though you don't actually explicitly come out and say it.
With our upcoming election, that we are a country solely operating on our fear.
And to further address this, what are you doing in this video when you say, well, this mass shooting happens, this mass shooting happened, this mass shootings are happening all the time, and nothing's being done again? What are you doing again, if not creating an environment of fear or contributing to an environment of fear? Again, please do enlighten me.
About our role in the fight against violence. We grew up on these mass shootings. The victims, and unfortunately the shooters, are people we all personally know.
No. The people that knew the victims and the people that knew the mass shooters personally knew them. Everyone else did not. Let's be honest about this here. Let's try to make an attempt at being what we call honest, being truthful.
And underrepresented, and thus we have become divided, just like the generations before us. But instead, we...
Okay, so earlier in this very video, you got on to politicians on multiple occasions, some politicians anyway, on multiple occasions for using these tragedies to push some political agendas, while constantly leaving out the gun control agenda on this. You've talked about and complained about how divisive the internet comments are, and here you are singling out and chiding somebody who doesn't want firearm owners or a freedom that we value being scapegoated in this to push a political agenda. You hypocritical, lying, manipulative fuck. In fact, now I think is the perfect time to show everybody that link in the description on your video and show everybody that DoSomething.org website to show everybody what a manipulative, hypocritical, agenda-pushing sack of shit you really are. Okay, so this is a screen cap of the dude's description box showing the link posted. And I know this is a tad off topic, but this right here should be evidence of just how partisan this site really is. So we can already start to see how partisan this site really is, and we're going to go next to that link pointed over there about Las Vegas. All right, so when we get to that link, we scroll down a little bit and we find this. What is this, dude? Is this not a political agenda? You know, you're telling me that this site is not using the Las Vegas tragedy to push a political agenda here? Get fucked, dude. You are such a lying little hypocritical sack of shit. In fact, this whole fucking site is a partisan site. I mean, look at it. Only 30 seconds on this fucking site, and I can find at least a good few examples of how partisan this side is and how many political agendas this side is pushing. So don't pretend like you have no political agenda with this when you're linking this site.
Need to consider shutting the fuck up for a second and actually doing something about it.
Okay, you of all people have no business telling anybody to shut the fuck up at this point. This whole video, you have been taking mass shootings and pretending like they're a personal part of your life, even though they're not. You sitting there getting on to people, telling people that they need to do something. Then you sit there and chide other people for using these mass shootings to push their own political agenda, which is wrong, but guess what? You're doing the same fucking thing. This whole video has been a push for your political agenda. You're doing it in a very manipulative and deceptive manner, you hypocritical sack of shit.
The patrons of Pulse were targeted because of who they were. They were queer people of color, and you as millennials out there all know and love.
Okay, so the race and ethnicity had nothing to do with the victims of Pulse. The murderer at Pulse murdered them because they were homosexual. The murderer was a jihadist who believed he was waging holy war against homosexuals because his violent ideology says that homosexuals are evil and deserve to die. That is it.
Someone from those backgrounds, and not all politicians do.
Okay, I'm going to ignore the fact you probably don't have any evidence to back that stupid statement up. But even if it is the case that these politicians don't have any gay friends or family members or don't know any homosexual people personally, it's still irrelevant. You don't have to know somebody who's homosexual to know murdering them is wrong.
It's fine to share their speeches and your opinions, even about this very video, but posting in the infinite soapbox that is the internet is like prayer without action. Contact your elected officials because eventually we're going to become those elected officials. So
Yeah, go ahead, contact your elected representatives, but there is no political agenda there. How dumb do you think people are, you fucking lying sack of shit?
merely shrugging at politics instead of actively participating in it will not change the game. Let's get up all in their business because if
Yeah, no political agenda, huh?
when I look back on June 12, 2016, I will not only remember the deaths of the innocent, but what we did to finally make a change. And finally to the LGBT community.
And no attempt at mass manipulation would be complete without the crocodile tears. I mean, whether you're talking Jimmy Kimmel, Charles Schumer, or this guy. And this is what this video is. This is an attempt at mass manipulation. This guy clearly has an agenda. All you got to do is just go and click on that link to the site and you can see the agenda. You have telltale hints in his video, such as when he's talking about political agendas, he leaves out gun control. And then when, he was showing the comments of that dude, who was tired of being scapegoated, after every mass shooting for being a firearm owner, supporting gun rights, the guy can't come out and sit there and talk facts with you. This is why he goes and shows all these mass shootings, shows the crocodile tears, says, well, nothing's been done. Even though he even points out specific cases in his own video where at least some sort of attempt got made. It's not the attempt that he wanted, but attempts have been made. This guy is very dishonest. This guy does not have any respect for you. Anybody who will manipulate you and lie to you like that doesn't have any respect for you. They don't have any respect for your thought process. They don't really care about solving a problem at this point because they won't even be honest. They're just concerned about getting their way, and that's it. And this is exactly what this guy's doing, and he knows it. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Y'all take her easy out there.